So when my wife Katie and I first met, we bonded really quickly over a lot of things. Like we had a lot of things in common, a lot of same mutual interests and whatever. And one of the biggest things that we bonded over was our love for DC Comics superheroes like cartoons and movies. And we especially were excited that we had met somebody who also liked all of the DC Comics cartoons, the DC animated universe as it was called. And we really quickly bonded over all of that. And as we got talking and started, discussing our thoughts on it, and we were getting all nerdy together, come to find out, Katie has seen the series of Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, but I found out that she had never seen any of the animated series that came before that were really like the building blocks that were leading up to Justice League, stretching all the way to like 1992 with Batman the Animated Series and Superman the Animated Series and Static Shock and Batman Beyond and like a ton of these different movies that were all building up to like culminate in Justice League, but all she had seen was Justice League. And so Katie and I got to talking and I was like, look, Katie, I don't think that I can be married to somebody that hasn't seen all of the DC animated universe. And so I kid, but seriously, we started to watch every single TV episode, every single animated movie that was a part of this DC animated universe, starting with 1992 Batman all the way to 2006 Justice League Unlimited. So 14 years of the world's best television cartoons that anyone had ever seen. I mean, these are grade A stuff. And so have been working through it over the course of time that we've known each other. And sure enough, Katie and I would have these conversations where she would be like, wow, I actually really appreciate Superman as a character so much more now that I've seen Superman the animated series, or how she appreciated a time-traveling episode so much more now that she had seen the different episodes that built up DC's past and DC's future. And see, the Bible is really the exact same way. So many times we can jump into something in Scripture and we just read a passage or a story or a verse and we think we understand what it means. But because we're only reading a small selection of something, we're not really getting the bigger picture of what the Bible is actually talking about. And a lot of times what that can mean is that we misinterpret or misunderstand what the Bible is trying to say. A clear example of this would be the story of Gideon in Judges. A lot of people will share stories about Gideon asking God for a sign before going into battle. And I've heard so many messages that are of people talking about this verse, and they talk about it like it's a good thing that shows that Gideon is this man of faith who is seeking after God and asking for signs and wonders and miracles and all that stuff. But really, if you look outside of just that one story and you see the whole story of Gideon, you realize he's been asking for signs over and over and over again. And really, he's just putting off what God is calling him to do because he's kind of a coward. And so all of a sudden, this story that read in isolation sounds like this, hey, way to go, Gideon, the man of faith, to acknowledging that Gideon was actually kind of a cowardly person who struggled with his faith. And yet he's a hero of the Bible. And so if you understand the story around it, all of a sudden that story makes a lot more sense. Another example would be reading about King Solomon. If you read about what he did in the book of Kings, you're reading at first about all these great things that Solomon is doing. And then there's the story about how Solomon goes down to Egypt to get a bunch of horses. And if you're just reading it in isolation, it just seems like another thing that King Solomon did. But if you know the context of the Old Testament and you read the law in Deuteronomy, where it talks about how a king should not acquire for himself a great number of horses, or if you read the rest of the Old Testament and how many times people go down into Egypt and disaster happens. Abraham goes to Egypt, disaster happens. Jacob's family in Israel goes down with Joseph and starts living in Egypt. And then you get Israel is enslaved in Egypt. And you have all of these stories, one after another, of people going to Egypt and disaster happens. And so if you know those contexts and you are familiar with the stories that have come before, you can see what Solomon's doing and being like, well, that's not good. He's acquiring many horses and he's going down to Egypt. These are two things that are clearly foreshadowing that disaster is about to happen. And that's exactly what it's doing. But if we don't understand the Bible, if we aren't reading the Bible as a whole collective story, then we're miss out on those things. So what am I trying to say here? What I'm trying to say is that it is important for us to know how to read the Bible well. It's important for us to be able to not just pick verses out of context that fit something that we think sounds good, but it's important for us to be looking at the Bible and seeing not just the isolated stories, but seeing the whole story from Genesis to Revelation and saying, what is the message that God is saying to humanity in the Bible? And so what we are doing as a ministry is we are providing a free resource for all of our students and their families to make use of. There is a really great YouTube series by the Bible Project that's simply titled How to Read the Bible. And it's an ongoing series of videos that are animated really well and interesting and explain all of the ways that how to read the Bible well, all the different genres and how the Bible uses characters and plot and setting and all of these things that maybe we take for granted that we have to really think about to understand the message of the Bible. And so we are providing a link to this video series for you guys. If you're watching this on Instagram, it's going to be in our bio. If you're watching on Facebook, it'll be in the post. And if you're on YouTube, it'll be in the description below. And so you can click the link and go to the series. You can either watch it one video a day, one video a week. You can binge the whole thing and watch it all at once. Whatever you want to do, I just want to challenge you to watch the videos and to let it help guide you in how you understand the Bible. And so as you watch the videos, go ahead and send us messages or comment and let us know, wow, this really blew my mind and I can't believe that I never saw this before, because we want to hear about that, guys. So watch the videos, let us know what you think, and as always, we just want to say we love you guys. We miss being with y'all. God bless. Have a great day.